My name's Simon. For the most part, my life is totally normal.
Dear Simon, you don't know me, but my family just moved to Atlanta.
I'm just like you, except I have one huge-ass secret. Nobody knows I'm gay.
I was excited to start over. I thought I'd finally get the chance to be myself.
I'm living in a world where I don't get to be who I am. I deserve a great love story. And I want someone to share it with.
I'm not ready to open up to a whole bunch of strangers.
It doesn't seem fair that only gay people have to come out. Why is straight the default?
I finally figure out what I want. Love, Victor.
Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. I'm Danielle Bryn, and if you are new here, you should hit that subscribe button below. Today we are going to be doing something a little different, hasn't been done before on my channel, and I'm super excited about it. As some of you know, I am a 21-year-old film and TV student, so I am getting a degree in film and TV production and studies. So today I'm going to be giving you guys a full review of the TV show Love, Victor. Now I've been seeing ads and trailers for this all over, just like popping up, and my honest first reaction was, really? So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'll watch it and I'll see what I think of it. For anyone who doesn't know me, I absolutely loved the film for many reasons. I do know that there are a decent amount of people out there, especially film people, who don't like the movie, but I think as far as LGBTQ centered film and shows, Love, Simon was pretty good. I feel like for there not being a lot of representation out there in the media, I think it did a decent job of starting to break down that barrier. Now, the TV show. Fair warning, there will be some spoilers throughout this video. Before watching it, I didn't realize that the show is legit like about Victor going to Simon's high school and kind of like following in his footsteps. I didn't realize that before watching it. I will be rating this based on cinematics, storyline, characters, dialogue, and then I wrote down emotion meter. That's really important because in the movie it really got me, and it like made me cry so many times throughout the film. Following the film, it really has to do a good job of actually captivating the emotional attention of the audience. Love, Victor was first released on June 17th. It's narrated by Nick Robinson, which is our well-known Simon from Love, Simon. Let's start by talking about one of the things I thought was great about this TV show. A lot of the feedback about Love, Simon when the movie first came out was that it was about a middle-class white boy who seems to have a pretty perfect life other than the fact that he's struggling with his sexuality. In the TV show, they kind of switch it up. So Victor Salazar, he is a Hispanic boy. His family is more lower socioeconomic class, and he has 2 siblings and 2 parents. His family is supposedly less accepting. He doesn't necessarily fit in, and he's arriving at a new school, so he's having to go through not only the struggle of his own self, but like figuring out his new friends and who he wants to be once he gets there. And another thing that they should have touched on more in the show that I thought they were going to is his experience with racism. The show jumps in right off the bat and just like slams right into the storyline. Doesn't really warm you up to anything. It's just like very get in, and then throughout the entire season it's very like just quick scenes, like not that much depth within each scene, and a lot of scenes felt very pointless. Now, I'm not saying that with any disrespect. My biggest thing with this TV show, Love, Victor, is the fact that I don't think the directing was done that well. I'm a directing student, so I've been studying a lot of things, and that's kind of what I look for in shows, especially if an actor, if it doesn't feel so genuine, it might not even be bad acting, it might be a bad directing. I'm not trying to direct that comment at the directors who worked on this show. I'm just saying that like that could be a reason why some of the acting to me didn't feel as genuine and felt more like mediocre and kind of high school teen show. That's no reflect, TV shows are really hard to direct because you usually have a different director for each episode, and you don't really have as much creative control over working with the actors or figuring out the character arc within that episode. You do less with that, and you do more of the just getting that certain episode going and then following it through to the editing process. I think one of the things that's stood out to me as well is all of the scenes are fairly short. I tried to keep track of like what happened in scenes, what the importance was with them, and oftentimes it just felt like a scene was just like playing out so they could just, advance the storyline a little bit more.
And what I mean by this is that it was quick scenes that could have been done in one big scene to advance the storyline, but instead it was oh, they need to make sure that somehow that the parents are more conservative, or somehow you need to know this, and so we're gonna add one quick minute long scene in here just for that. Or not even a minute, sometimes it was just felt like a 30-second little clip, and it just felt really rushed.
So a lot of scenes ended up feeling not as genuine as they could have been. My biggest thing with TV shows and movies is, and that what I've learned in writing TV shows and films, is show don't tell. You don't want to ever really blatantly state out what you're trying to get across, about the character. You want things to be acting and acted out, and people to be able to observe what's going on behind the scenes. You can have a few little monologue pieces here and there to kind of break down what's going on, but I never think you should just blatantly state what's going on. What I've found is that when you don't actually show things to the audience as much and you're more telling them, the audience doesn't become as engaged, because instead of having to focus and pay attention and read the characters as you would reading a person when you met them in person, or trying to figure out who they are and doing all that twists in your head, it was very just being told that, and so I didn't feel as engaged within the TV show. Speaking of feeling engaged with the TV show, I think there was a lot of points where they could have capitalized even more on the emotional weight, and they didn't. The only times that I started to cry or got emotional was, I believe, the last episode and then the second to last episode. They really should have been capitalizing off this emotion way earlier in the TV show. Love Victor got a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, while Love Simon got a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's just break down this TV show. In the first episode, Victor meets Felix, who is his next door neighbor in the apartment building they live in, as well as becomes his best friend. Off the bat, the character for Felix, he's a little quirky and he seems a little weird, very enthusiastic to meet someone, which I feel that's oftentimes very stereotyped. Is there's, when someone comes to a new high school, there's the one kid who wants to be best friends with them and is oh, we're gonna be, I'll show you around, all that, and then everyone else is a little weird. That felt a little off to me, but he ended up becoming my favorite character in the show, as he had a good emotional arc throughout the show, and it felt pretty genuine from there on out. He really did a good job of playing into that quirky character. I really didn't like the way that Andrew had to be the stereotypical asshole jock. He literally starts a GoFundMe for Victor, which really feels like an invasion of privacy, and they don't really build upon that. Victor seems to forgive him pretty fast for doing that. I get that they wanted to have the stereotypical asshole jock, but his character just feels a little meh to me. Okay, this is one of the things that really bothered me with this TV show. Benji's character always said things so straight out.
All of his lines were on the nose. He never actually beat it around the bush. He literally just came out straight out, said things, which I feel in real life never happened.
And I think this was also partly with the directing. I think his lines could have come across better if the director had worked a little bit more to make him feel more genuine. But it just really didn't, his character is this confident guy, but when he said things to Victor, they didn't feel confident, they just felt like he was saying them. One plus about this show, I think the music is really well done. It just has a lot of great classics, and I had a lot of fun with music. They had the opportunity in this TV show to actually cast characters that were LGBTQ and give this opportunity to characters who have actually lived these experiences. I know the actor who plays Victor is not gay in real life. I do think that they could have at least had some more actual LGBTQ actors in this show. Okay, so in the scene in the first episode when Victor first meets Benji, it's this whole sexualized slow motion thing of Benji walking slowly and getting water and then brushing his hair back. And it's just way too over the top. That just continuously perpetuates the idea that when someone has a crush on someone, that in order to show that, it has to be sexualized.
When we perpetuate the idea that a crush has to be sexualized, this totally negates the idea that there are people out there, such as people who are asexual or demisexual, who don't experience sexual attraction in the same way that everyone else does. And I think it's really important to show that in TV shows, especially one about LGBTQ youth and ones that are in high school, that it doesn't have to be sexualized to show attraction.
But also the fact that Benji's the only other gay kid in school. They don't even mention other gay kids at the school, and we're just kind of assuming that Victor's gonna get with him just because they're both the only gay kids. I feel that's a little assumptuous. I'm sorry, that was the cheesiest line. Sounds like those vintage Nike Cortezes were your destiny, if you believe in that kind of stuff. Like, can we just, that was such a stupid line. Another confusing thing about this show is that I'm not sure who the audience is supposed to be. The show feels a lot like, if you've ever seen the show Degrassi, I think not the original one, but the one that was on Netflix, that Degrassi. This show feels a lot like that. You know, they try and deal with more mature topics. Like, the acting and directing is just mediocre, and so it like doesn't feel like it's actually directed for an older, mature audience. It's very interesting to just see how like some shows can deal with these more mature topics and actually do very well, and some just kind of flop. I'm not saying that the show is bad. I think this show, Love, Victor, is actually really necessary. I think they did a pretty good job with it. I'm not trashing it. I'm trying to more like review it and critique it and say what things could do better. I would like to see some more LGBTQ characters within the show. Like, one of the biggest things that pissed me off in this show is the idea that people who are gay are cheaters. Victor is dating Mia. Victor is still dating Mia when he spends the night with Benji. Victor is still dating Mia when he kisses Benji. And he doesn't see a problem with having cheated on her. They touch on it as, you know, he's confused, he's still trying to figure out who he is, but they never touch on the fact that he actually does cheat on Mia, which reinforces the stereotype that gay people cheat. The whole like stigma with bisexual people is that like, you know, they like both, so they're gonna cheat. And it's like, no, that's completely wrong. And then Victor doesn't even see a problem with the fact that he cheated. He sees a problem with the fact that, you know, now Mia knows that he's not straight, which they totally like skate over that. One thing I do think they touch on fairly well is internalized homophobia with Victor and him like not wanting to be gay once he like hears people not really being accepting. I like that Simon like kind of touches on that. He's like, yo, I'm glad about, you know, what you're feeling, what you're going through, but also like that's not how it felt like for me. Like for me it was more than just like butterflies in the stomach and like nervousness. They do touch on the fact that not all gay men are flamboyant and fashionable. We're gonna break down and I'm gonna give you my ratings for the show. I would rate this show 6.8 to 7 out of 10. I rarely would rate things like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. For cinematics, I rated it a 5 out of 10. Wasn't horrible, but it wasn't good. It didn't have any like unique, interesting shots or like sequences. For storyline, I gave it an 8 out of 10. For the characters, I gave them 5 out of 10. I think a lot of them rely on stereotypes once again. For dialogue, I gave it a 6 out of 10. Once again, some things just hit me wrong. A lot of things were just way too on the nose and they should have been more show don't tell, and a lot of things also just felt kind of unrealistic. And then for emotion meter, I gave it a 60%. So overall, I would recommend this show, especially if you know someone LGBTQ. Like, this can be a little bit of an insight into the experience, and it also does show some of the hardships that are challenged with and face. Expect things to be a little cheesy and a little corny, but I would recommend it. I think that's about it. I literally just talked for like an hour. I really hoped you enjoyed watching this video. If you agreed with my viewpoints or if you disagreed, leave a comment down below. Let me know how it was. If you have any suggestions of other shows or movies that you want me to review or even just check out, let me know down below in the comments as well. I'm Danielle Bryn, and I hope you have a great day. And I will see you next week. Bye.
There must be something about the features. You'll find the beauty goes much deeper once you get to meet her. You see her walking down the boulevard. She got the posture of a superstar. She looks so